right, all right, all right. Greetings, everybody. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Think we're live. Think we're live. Greetings, everybody. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Um, as you're coming in, I see a couple people popping in. As you're coming in, please like and share the stream. I'm going to join you and do the same. Please like and share the stream. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate y'all. Like and share. Much appreciated. Gonna wait on people to start populating the stream. Go ahead and share it if you can. Like it, heart it, share it. Do what you do. We appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's shared so far. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Making sure all my stuff is good as you're coming in. Think we're good. Think we're good. All right. All right. What's going on, good people? What's going on? Thank y'all for tuning in. As you know, my name is Jeff Bulls. I'm the president of Saginaw CAP, which is Saginaw Community Alliance for the People. We're an advocacy organization here in the city of Saginaw and in the state of Michigan. Um, so grateful to have you all on and tuning in. I was a couple minutes behind. Appreciate you guys' patience. Now we're live. We're on. So thank y'all so much for coming on this edition of Cap Talks Live. We created this forum because, of course, we still have our in-person forum, but we wanted to try and reach a virtual audience as well. Everybody can't make an in-person forum. We totally understand that. People work and they have families and other obligations, and so we wanted to create this forum to reach the community as well and hear your concerns, hear your voice, because that's what CAP is all about. We're all about the community. The C in CAP is community alliance for the people. And just like everything else that we do, this forum is for you as well. So please, 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 as the show goes on, please leave us comments. Whatever you want to talk about. We're going to talk about a couple different things, and I have a special guest that's going to be popping in shortly. He was on, but probably having some technical difficulties. But when he pops back in, we'll get him on. But again, thank you so much for coming on and viewing the show. We appreciate you guys. Again, leave us comments in the chat if you can, and I'll make sure to get to those. If you have any questions, as you guys know, us with CAP, we deal with a lot of different issues in the city. We deal with issues, whatever is important to the community, and it's in our wheelhouse. We try our best to address those issues and find solutions. A lot of people, do a lot of talking, but we're solution oriented. Like, we'll talk about it, but then we're going to get to the solutions, get to the process of how do we get something done about that. And so, that's kind of our mantra. That's what we do. So, but I see I got my guy here. Let me bring him on the stage here. My guy who needs no introduction, really.
I don't know about all that.
I got a bio, but it might take about 20 minutes, man, because the list is long. And he's one of my biggest mentors, man. Somebody I look up to. I value so much because he throws so many gems, and you got to be ready to catch them. So, without further ado, let me introduce someone who's very important to the community, very important to me, none other than Bishop Hurley Coleman. Bishop, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jeff. You being awful kind, man. I don't know what I can do to follow up with that, man. That's pretty powerful, Doc.
Oh man, hey, I'm so grateful that you had a little bit of time for me, man, and I appreciate you coming on. How's things going your way?
Working, man. We working hard at trying to stay connected to the work that's in front of us and fulfilling purpose. Every day is it's an everyday thing, man.
Absolutely. I specifically wanted to bring you on because I'll just jump straight to it. I mean, we're in a huge moment um, politically in the city of Saginaw, in the state of Michigan, and nationally. I mean, we're in a huge moment, and I just wanted to really get your thoughts on that moment, like in your words, like can you explain to the people, because I say it all the time, but I think another perspective is needed, and so if you can explain like what's at stake with this election.
Well, Jeff, the big thing is that everybody needs to know that we're in a political environment that we have never ever been in before. There has never been a time when we've had two candidates who are so polarly different in their ethics, in their credential, in their background, and in their performance than the two major candidates, two presidential candidates. That's just the presidential race. But on every level of political engagement, we are in an historic time. We've never had a time where we were in the midst of having Supreme Court decisions that govern the interaction of legislature toward the Constitution in ways that it has never had before, where there's so little restrictions on and the guardrails are down. We've never had a period of time where we have recent memories of political turmoil within our own country. In my whole life, I'm 70 years old. I've never seen it where the capital of the United States was bombarded by people who wanted to disrupt government. Um, I've never seen a time where parties are so polarized and so uh, divisive that you can't even discern what their real agenda is. And I know that sounds critical. It sounds critical, but it's the truth on both sides. We've got a two-party system, and people in both parties. There were people in both parties that are wondering where is the party that they used to be a bit of a part of. And at the same time, we've got such incredible excitement and such incredible energy because we've also got a historic time. Let's just take, for instance, what we're looking at in the state of Michigan. In the state of Michigan, in our own community, for the first time in our lives, Jeff, in the first time in our lives, we have open seats on the federal level and people competing from our own community, African Americans competing at a very aggressive and competitive level for federal seats from our own community. That hasn't happened before. And at every level, I go back to it again, at every level, from the school board to the city council to the county commission, not one election is unimportant. Every single election, and it's not just the candidates, but it's the measures that are attached to them. It's also an unprecedented time because there is such a strong effort to discourage the participation of the public in the process, to make it appear as if your vote doesn't matter, so that you don't vote. While in fact, the truth of it is that there never has been a more potent time for the individual vote. When decisions and election decisions are made by small numbers, we're talking about city council seats that that are won or lost with less than 50 to 100 votes. County commission seats that are won or lost by less than one block of people voting. Statewide elections that are won by less than one neighborhood. in a whole community. And here in Saginaw, in our community, Saginaw County is known throughout the country as one of the most critical places for votes to be collected to determine the
Absolutely.
outcome. We've never had that, Jeff. We've never had that. At the same time, we're wrestling with the realities of our lives because now there are people who have been disfranchised so long that they don't think it matters. They don't think that anything matters, and the cynicism that's attached to decision making processes because they look at candidates who willfully just lie and just tell untruth, where they look at uh, campaign programs, campaign efforts that are put forth by candidates who claim to be representative of you, but you've never seen them, don't never know them. And if you walk up to them, they'll treat you like they don't see you while you're standing in front of them. This is an unprecedented time. And so I'm excited that CAP, this group, is putting forth the effort to engage the public through community groups. And that I'll say this I know I said unprecedented before, but there has never been a more collaborative voter engagement program than what we see now with CAP and with the NAACP, with Saginaw African American Pastors, with Saginaw Faith Collaborative, with the League of Women Voters, with Ezekiel, with the Divine Nine, all of these groups sitting at the table together. And I'm not mentioning them all, there's more. Sitting at the table together just to make sure that in this also unprecedented time, where this is only the second time when our community will have the opportunity for early voting in person, and we have an opportunity to really affect the outcome of every election in the country. Saginaw can affect the outcome of every election: the presidential election, congressional election, Senate election, Michigan elections, state elections, local county elections. This is it. I know that was
Absolutely.
long, wasn't it?
No, no, it's great. Those of you just tuning in, I'm talking to the Bishop Hurley Coleman. Man, you put so much out there, and I want to really put a cap on that. What you just mentioned about that coalition and what he's speaking to is an initiative that CAP has spearheaded with other groups and really bringing everybody together, and it's called Souls to the Polls. Souls to the Polls is the initiative that he just mentioned. Bishop, in your words, can you really explain the significance of Souls to the Polls and why it came to be?
Well, the first thing you got to know about Souls to the Polls is that it predates all of our existence. All of us that are living now, that are adults now, this idea of Souls to the Polls predates it. It's actually the underpinning of it. It actually goes back to Reconstruction. After the emancipation, when the first election, when African Americans were allowed to vote after slavery, when they were allowed to participate in the process, it was the churches, it was the organized groups that got our community together to go and vote. And in that election, there were so many African Americans in who were formerly enslaved people who are now in legislative offices at every level of government. That really the performance of that powerful vote is what sparked the need for Jim Crow to happen. They created Jim Crow so that would never happen again, and began all of those efforts. And then it took another almost 100 years before the civil rights legislation and voters' right legislation could be passed, so that now we have this opportunity. People understand this. The civil rights legislation and the voter rights legislation that was passed is less. It's younger than I'm old. It I was a young person when it was passed. So it's not that dated. It's almost recent in consideration of history. And
Hmm.
if we're not careful with what we see happening with all these other initiatives, the Project 25 and the conservative movement that's trying to take away all the rights and everything from books to parks and recreation to medicine to healthcare services, If we're not careful, we won't have what we have now. That's why it's important that not only we vote. So the idea for Souls to the Polls, it became one of the movements in the civil rights movement to get people engaged in the civic process. And it was the idea of taking, we had great leaders, and I wish I could be specific about the names, but great leaders who orchestrated bringing people from their churches, from their organizations, to make sure that they got people to the polls. And it was at that point, it was less of a telling you who to vote for. It was just making sure that you voted because the numbers meant everything. And that's why this effort is so important. And it's so important in the primary. People don't think that you can wait till November. No, this has got to happen in August, because if we're going to move that agenda, if we're going to move the dial to the place where our vote not only is counted, but that it matters, it's got to happen in August. So with all of these groups getting together, we've historically known that the NAACP, historic entity within our community, has always been at the forefront, along with SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and Urban League, and all those other. We've always known that the Divine Nine, all the Greek fraternities and sororities, and those lodges and groups have always been active. But to have the NAACP and the Divine Nine sitting at the table with the aggregate group of church leaders to pastors. The Saginaw African American Pastors is a group that encompasses a number of African American pastors who are not saying that they only serve African Americans, but they're unapologetically recognizing that their primary audience is the African American community. Now, we're, for the first time in a long time, you all, hear me now. There is no single agenda, there's no divided agenda. CAP, one of the youngest advocacy groups in our community, is leading this, and all these other groups have come to the table to work with them. For the first time in our recent history, we have an African American young lady who's leading the League of Women Voters. And guess who's sitting at the table with the Souls to the Polls? The League of Women Voters. I know you're not hearing me mention any partisan campaigns or any parties, and that's because that's not a part of this or aggregation. This aggregation is primarily governed and designed and collected to get you from your churches, from your homes, into those polls, into the voting place in early voting this year. If we are able to do this, what we want to do, Jeff, what we want to do is we want to have so many people that somebody's going to be trying to figure out new rules to keep us from doing it. During President Obama's campaign, during the Barack Obama campaign, people were lined up to vote, and they were bringing them water, they were bringing people sandwiches, they were bringing chairs, they were trying to do everything they could accommodate it, and it worked so well that within a year, people were putting forth legislation so that you couldn't
Change the
even
rules.
pass out water. I want to make everybody who doesn't want to see us participate so angry that now they trying to come up with some more rules to keep us from doing it. But they'll have a problem because we will have elected people who respond to our issues, and they won't be able to do what they've always done. So this is so important. And excuse me for talking so long, man, but these are hot buttons for me because I've been talking about this so much.
Man, I'll let you talk all day. I'm listening, and I always take in what you say. I really appreciate your perspective. Man, so Souls to the Polls. Wow.
Jeff, the other thing that I think is important for us to realize that we've got some great people in our community
Yes.
who are leading. I mean, right now, the state representative from the city of Saginaw is a young man. I call him young because he's a couple years younger than me.
Yeah.
Brother Amos O'Neill, who is sitting in one of the most influential seats in all of state government.
Yes.
He's sitting in a place where he can help to make decisions about the outcome of major issues. That's a person who comes home to be with us.
Yes.
He's in our community. He's standing next to
On
you in
Moulton Drive.
McDonald's. He's sitting next to you in the pews. He's a person that you see in your neighborhood, and he knows that, and he doesn't act as if he's not there. When you call him, he's there. That's the kind of person we need. Everybody coming to the polls to make sure that he stays where he is.
Yes.
We've got such incredibly qualified people who are running. It's unprecedented. There are young people and seasoned people who are looking to get their foot in the door in the political environment. The only way they get there, Tara, the only way they get there is that people have to go to the polls, and it's not just a right, you all. It's a duty. Many people have said this, Jeff, and I can't stress it enough. But to just say that that democracy is on the ballot this year is to just say it is superficial.
Yes.
You got to know it, and here's how you know it. You know it in the fact that historic boundaries that have never been crossed are now so fluid that it looks like it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if people in leadership lie. It doesn't matter if they put themselves in positions that compromise the government. It doesn't matter if people in high positions steal. It doesn't matter if they do things because the boundaries have gone. And now that you look at you find the courts and every other area being compromised for agendas. Has anybody talked to you about Project 2025?
Yeah, I've been hearing about it, and I've even read it, and it's some crazy stuff in there that I wish I could say is outlandish, but it's not. I think over the last couple administrations, I think we've seen a lot of what we think was once thought of as not able to pass.
And see, you see that's the challenge that I have. That's the challenge that I have when people aren't surprised at things. When you hear somebody saying that we are going to take away all of the privileges for individuals who don't have citizenship papers, and we're going to send them back to their place, and you're not surprised when you hear somebody say that, well, we're going to take away the opportunity for this group to vote, that group to vote, because we're going to redraw the lines and we're going to move polling places, and we don't have to ask for any permission to do it because we've already taken that out of the civil rights legislation that they have to get approval before they change certain voting restriction, and nobody's surprised when you have a person, and this is going to sound partisan, so take out the partisan part of it. It didn't matter. It wouldn't matter which party they were in, but they have been convicted of 39 felonies, and they're running for president. If they win, there's certain things they can't join. They can't join the armed forces. If they win as the president, they won't be able to join the armed forces, and the president may not be able to pass security clearance because you can't have a felony and get access to secret codes. And people aren't surprised when 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 we lose the sense of awe for what we're doing. Then that's when we have the potential of anarchy, the potential of disruption. And when the people with this Project 2025, which was originated from a group called the Heritage Foundation, and I hope that everybody that's got Google on your phone, Googles the Heritage Foundation Project 2025
Yep.
and see what it is. It is not law. It is not law. It has not been through legislation. It is not something that's been passed by the government, by the Congress, or by the Senate. It has not something that has been approved by the Supreme Court. It's not been tested in law. It's rules, you all. It's administrative rules that will be given to the particular president that they want so that they could write in administrative rules and change the world. I
Yeah.
hope
It's
everybody Googles it. It's one of the most frightening things that I've seen. And It's the people who are promoting it are. They're not hiding it. That was a time when decency would have had people say certain things behind closed doors or not out loud. But now, you know, nobody's hiding it. They're saying it out loud in your face. You can find Project 25 on any bookshelf. You can go to Kindle, you can go to Amazon, and you can find it because it's been printed and published. It's they're not trying to hide what they're doing. And so
No,
there is a need for us to really become involved. Every person who's 18 and older needs to be registered to vote, and they need to vote.
and that's primarily what we want to do with Souls to the Polls. So not only are we getting people out on two particular Sundays, the two Sundays prior to uh, the actual voting day for the primary, but you can actually vote now.
Yeah,
You can actually vote now. You can get an absentee ballot from your city clerk right now.
right now.
Uh, and so we need to really push that out there because I think a lot of people, don't really know, and it's not necessarily an embarrassing thing, but I think it's on us that do know to share what we know with everybody so that we can get souls to the poll.
And I think that one of the things, Jeff, that this conversation, this talk does, and the other cap talks that we've had, and talking about real things, I think what's necessary is that we all need to have these conversations. You don't have to know everything to have these conversations. You don't have to be, you don't have to have a PhD to have these conversations. You don't even have to have a claim for what you want to do in your life in order to have these conversations. But you need to be able to have these conversations. Do you realize that over the past 8 years, it has become difficult for people from opposing parties to even have civil conversations because people are so polarized and people take it personally. Now, don't take it personally, but take it collectively. Be personally engaged, but collectively motivated because it's about our community. In the city of Saginaw, there's been attempts down through over the last 35 years to raise the tax cap so that the city of Saginaw can have more money to work with. And I just heard that there was, every day, Jeff, we get the bad news that there's something else going on, another crime, another, you know. And I told somebody the other day, and I said, this is not the answer, you know. But the fact that we haven't had a Parks and Recreation Department in the city of Saginaw for over 30 years says that there's that place where youngsters, preteens, and teenagers could go and have social engagement in the company of caring adults that could teach them how to deal with social interaction and solve issues without becoming TV wise. It's gone. I grew up, and my parents, my mother and father were not the only adults in my life.
Absolutely.
There needs to be a, there was a time when the neighborhood raised everybody, right?
Yes.
Jeff, we
Yeah.
grew up on the same street.
Yes.
14th and Cherry with 14th and Cherry. There was a whole lot of families that we all grew up together. Every now and then I just drive back over there. My heart breaks. My heart breaks. And you all wonder, ask yourself what happened to the neighborhoods. Ask yourself what
Yeah.
happened to our communities. And you have to realize we have to take some responsibility
Yeah.
because there's
So,
things that we could do that we didn't do. And
well,
sometimes it's
that's the
because we
question.
would go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's the question. I know what I say, but what do you say? What needs to change in that respect? Because I mean, that's ultimately part of government. That's part of city government that went away. Like, was that a change from the people? Was that a change from the leadership? And where do we go from here with it?
And what the challenge was is that you can only do so much with limited resources. And the Parks and Recreation and police and fire and other things were in the general fund. And that when the general fund shrinks, you only have so much to do. So then the city council is left to make a decision based on the recommendation of the manager on what is most important to spend money. If you only got a little bit of money, you know how it is in your budget. You only got a little bit of money, you got to spend it where you got to where it makes the most difference. And I remember when I was recreation director for the city of Saginaw, one of the last things that I had to deal with in a budget was whether or not we were going to keep 3 or 4 playgrounds open for the summer, or whether there was going to be the purchase of a new police car. Well, we got the new police car,
Wow.
and then there weren't people who would say to the city council or city manager, "No, let's let the old police cars drive a few more years. Let's keep these kids with some activities that we pay." So that's where personal responsibility comes in. It comes in not only in the voting, but it comes in you taking the responsibility to be the right neighbor, to be the person in your neighborhood, to speak up. Uh, you know what? If there had been a loud enough cry when the grocery stores closed down, somebody would have had to do something. If there had been a loud enough cry when the banks left the east side, and when the shopping facilities left the east part of the city and the eastern part of the county, you know, but nobody said anything. So you can't sit back and say, why aren't they doing something? You have to look in the mirror and say, why am I not doing something? And it may not be that you can, everybody's not going to run for office, but everybody can do something, even if it means supporting the ones that will run for office.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Trying to catch up with some of these comments. Tara said something that you kind of echoed, and she said we got to have some tough conversations with our own people about respecting life and the real value of life. This will start the wheels of change to rolling.
That's a good point. Jeff, somebody came to me the other day and said, "Man, with all these murders, where the churches at? Where the pastors at?" And I said, "The pastors are in their pulpits on Sunday. They're teaching Bible study. They're going to the hospital. They're visiting the sick. They're marrying and they're dealing with their pastoral work. And some of them are doing their pastoral work and then doing their job. And the people that you're talking about don't come to church. So now, why would you put all of that on the pastors when there's people in the neighborhood that see it, people that know
Absolutely.
them that see it?" Now we can
Right.
minister to them, and we wind up having to minister to them when they come for the funeral, and at that moment we can tell them what we can tell them. Because I know that there are a lot of concerned leaders, there are concerned people who are really trying. I mean, I'm looking at it, Jeff. There's people who are really want to get stuff done. And I saw Kevin Gregory put up something about our nonprofits
Yes.
have the capacity to
Yes.
start summer programming. And well, Kevin, I'll hate to burst your bubble there, but they don't. It takes resources to start those programs. They could do it, but our historic entities like First Ward, the Neighborhood House, Community Action Center, those institutions that at one time were anchors, they have felt the crunch of depleted funding. When you're operating based on philanthropic resources coming in, if any one of those entities can have a fundraiser and say, let's say First Ward has a fundraiser and tells the community, we need to raise $2.5 million to operate such and such and such and such. So everybody come out and support First Ward. What think's going to happen?
Don't fall
Now,
short.
again, it's going to be us. Now, some of us will go out and they say, well, if they need $2 million and all I got to donate is $100, that don't make any difference. So I shouldn't go. But all you need is like 4,000, 5,000 people that give $200, and all of a sudden you got a piece of money. I
Mm-hmm.
found out that you can take bite-sized steps at things. What if First Ward, the Neighborhood House, uh, uh, I almost said Civitan, but we don't have Civitan.
Right.
Community CAC, African American Art Festival. What if all those entities just call for the community, just show up, and let's see what the numbers look like, and then use those numbers like the government uses the census numbers to speak to the powers that be and say this is the number of people that need this service, and you've got discretionary dollars. These discretionary dollars ought to be going somewhere. So it could work if they could do it if they had the resources.
Right.
But we're not talking.
Yeah. But we got to start talking. Absolutely. Tara says they've been drained because the conversations aren't being had about the strength of an economically strong community.
And she's absolutely right about that. You know, many times people think about when you talk about the economy in the African American community, all they think about is, well, small black businesses. But the economy in the African American community is rooted in jobs. It's rooted in jobs. The reason the African American community in Saginaw became one of the strongest middle class populations in the state is because there were jobs. There were jobs. I remember when I got out of high school, and I'm old, so just so people won't remember this, but you know, everybody wasn't trying to go to college. You know, you got out of high school and you could get a job in the plant, in the factory, and you could work there for 40 years, buy your house, buy your car, raise your family, send your children to school, and take care of your neighborhood. And that's what happened. And all of a sudden, the world economy became more important than local economies. And all of those corporations that had the tax breaks for being here decided that they could make money, make more money or cheaper labor in other places, and they moved. A lot of our folks moved with the jobs.
Yep.
And then when the jobs didn't come back, other people moved to find jobs. And so we've had this incredible evacuation from our community, and the population has shrunk. But we still need jobs. The churches of today were populated by people who worked in times past. The churches of today are still populated by people who work. But guess what? The people who work today, 8 times out of 10, are people who are doing two or three jobs to do what one job did at that time. So it's a real conversation.
It is. It is. I guess the burning question would be, you know, where do we go from here with the given situation? I mean, you know, I think we still got to find a way to move forward. Like, how do we take that first step, and then into that second step? Like, how do we get there?
You know, Jeff, what I think is one of the most important things for us to do is to quit apologizing about being in a battle. I mean, let's not act like we're not fighting. Let's not act like this is not tough, but let's be tough with it. I mean, I know, I remember when my very first job, and I still have a check for my very first job. My very first job with a college degree, I was making $368 a month.
Mm,
I remember that. And I remember how there was only so much that I could do with that.
right.
When my family first started, my wife and I got married 43 years ago, there was only so much that we could do with what we had. And so we had to work hard to make it work. Guess what? We weren't the only ones. And right now, there are people probably listening to us right now saying, well, they got it going on. No, no, no. It's still the same mentality. If
Yes.
we work hard and work together, and we're not apologetic about being who we are, we're not apologetic about trying to do what we need to do. And thank you very much, Vernell. Take care of our families, deal with our own people. What happens when you help your family to be something? That's where it starts.
Yes. Yeah. Man, I agree. And it's a tough thing. You know, I know you just mentioned about, you know, how people are, you know, are really struggling. I mean, you know, you got two or three jobs, man. It's hard to, you know, really, you know, get people to really care about issues, man, when you're just trying to survive. Just trying to survive. Just trying to, you know, make ends meet, and they ain't quite meeting. So you gotta find, you know, another entity or another side hustle, another something to try to,
I
you
know,
know,
but Jeff, though, don't you think though that even when you just trying to survive, that you do that better when you just trying to survive with other people who are just trying to survive?
absolutely.
I mean, I'm going to give a little promotion now, but I think we got so many people trying to do stuff. A lot of people are seeing these wonderful people in our community that are going around with these green shirts that say help. And that's all they're
Mhm.
trying to do, help. If it was just one green shirt, it wouldn't make much difference. But whenever you see two or three, a threefold cord is hard is hard to break. It's hard to snap a threefold twig. The more hands that you put to a thing, the better it is. When we start caring about one another, we start talking to one another, when we start lifting one another up, when we stop competing with one another, we start trying to make everybody be successful. When we start that, we'll start seeing that the whole thing will change, the whole atmosphere will change. And I think you're right, Terry, that we got to respect one another. I got somebody, I got somebody at my door, Jeff. Let me go. I'll be
Yeah,
right back.
yeah, absolutely. Man, I appreciate that. And I appreciate them comments. Man, a strong economy is not built on hustle. It's built on a unified plan. No jealousy or animosity, pure synergy. Absolutely. We're stronger together. We're really stronger together. And I know that's a thing that us with Saginaw Cap, we try to get people to see that, a lot of these issues that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, don't matter which one you pick, the solution is a collective solution. A lot of times we're in our silos, and I get it. I know. Like, I'm literally just coming from work myself. Like, I'm not removed from any of this, none of it. uh, you know, Working all day, coming home, trying to squeeze in a little bit of time with your family and trying to, juggle, have a work life balance, trying to, do the best you can. And I think, we find time for other things. We find time for what we want to find time for, even in a struggle. And I just challenge us to find a little bit of time for a collective moral responsibility for our community. I can't change the whole city of Saginaw, but I can help change the block that I live on. And if we all just change the block that we live on, just change that block that you live on. And the next block over, they just changing their block. And the next block over, they just changing their block. I think we could really start to change our communities, because that's all I grew up under. That's all I knew. There were parents and grandparents that just sat on the porch. They couldn't see the whole city, but they could see that block right there. And they took responsibility for that block. Like, if we rode on somebody's grass, it didn't have to be their grass. It was grass across the street. We rode on somebody's grass. Get off that grass over there. Just a real care for the community. I think that's what we have to get back to, is literally just caring for our community.
Well, Jeff, not only did you see them sitting on the porch, but you knew that they saw you,
Absolutely.
and that
It
makes a
lets you know.
difference too. You knew that they saw you, and then something about the way you were raised, the way you were talked to, did not let you ignore them when they spoke to you. And that
Couldn't do
created,
it.
if there was you and three or four of your friends and you all had bikes on, and one of you all rode on just one person rode on somebody's grass, they hollered at that person, then everybody else stayed in the sidewalk too. And
Absolutely.
that's how it works. Um, we've kind of lost a lot of civility, a lot of community, because we have become so self-directed and so oriented to personal success. And it's 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 not diminishing anybody's success by asking you to share your space with somebody else and
Hmm.
share your time. Um, there was a time, Jeff, when a lot of families in Saginaw had 7, 8, 10 kids in them,
Hmm.
right? And it was something I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to somebody, and we just happened to be talking about chicken, and because I like fried chicken,
Same
and
here.
and I told them it just amazed me sometimes how my mother could get one chicken and cut it up, and everybody in the family had a piece of chicken,
Mm.
and then don't let somebody else come to visit us. They would get to eat too, and I don't know how that happened, But
Man,
the old folks said that God always made a way for whoever sat at the table, you know. But that was the thing, though. You were willing to let somebody come sit at your table. How many people? How many people really know what their neighbor's name is? Now that
that's
doesn't sound like much during a political season like this, does it?
it doesn't, but it speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Because we're interconnected. We're interconnected. Man,
Yeah.
I know I said I was gonna have you on for 10 minutes. We probably about 40 in now.
Well, Jeff, you know me, and there's other people in this community that know me, and I've always really cared about our community and what we do. Um, and right now, I'm really challenged because folks, have to realize that, you know, first of all, the cavalry is not going to come. We're the cavalry that we expect to have.
Yes, sir.
And no army can win a war fighting against each other.
Not at all.
And so we've got to overcome this thing that's happening amongst us where we are so concerned about what somebody else is doing and being competitive that we can't find common ground to work together on.
I agree. I agree. Man. Well, before I let you go, just getting back to the severity of the moment with the election that's coming up. Is there any thought that you want to leave the people with as we approach this primary season?
Yeah, I do have a thought, and it's very simple. This election that's coming up, if you don't make it personal, you'll find out how personal it is if the wrong things happen. Because what happens in Washington is not going to take 3 or 4 years to get back to us. Right now, the economy is at the highest level that it's been in a long time. Unemployment is at the lowest level it's been in a long time. Interaction with other governments is one of the most positive levels that it's been in some time. But people are going to the grocery store and they're still trying to figure out why the eggs cost much more than they did. People went to the gas station Monday, and then they had to go. If they had to go back Wednesday, the price of gas was higher. Had nothing to do with any oil embargo. Had nothing to do with anything. We don't even know why gas goes up. Right now, think about it. You ask anybody you want to talk to, and they've gone to the drugstore lately to get their prescription. It's turning into craziness. Even though there are laws that are being passed that should make it easier, things aren't easier. And if we don't become engaged now, and you make this election personal, it won't take long before you feel it personally, because it'll come back to you. If you have children, your vote this year has less to do with you than it has to do with your children. If you have grandchildren, this vote has less to do with you and your children than it has to do with your grandchildren. So this is, I can't stress it anymore. We ought to have the highest voter turnout. In other countries, they average 80 to 90% voter turnout. In the United States, we rarely get 50%. And we're supposed to be the model democracy. I suggest that if nowhere else, in Saginaw, we surprise the world with the highest voter turnout in this primary that anybody has ever witnessed. So from this point on, you will not make decisions about our community without hearing from us.
Absolutely. Powerful, powerful. Man, the one and only Pastor J. Bishop Hurley Coleman. I appreciate you, Pastor, for coming on.
Jeff,
Thank you so much.
you know how much I appreciate your leadership, and I'm always trying to be a cheerleader for greatness that's coming. So just let me stay there helping you out. And I appreciate all the comments, all the people that are there, because this is what we got to do. We got to talk.
Absolutely. Man, thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you
Okay,
so
man.
much.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Bishop Hurley Coleman, everybody. Man, such a statesman, a leader of leaders. He's served in so many capacities, and man, I draw from him every time I can, every time I can. And elders like him who still serve, who still pour into people like me, man, they are a godsend, and we have to honor them while we have them. And so I really appreciate them. Man, thank you all so much for coming on. I appreciate everybody that threw comments in, that shared, that just supported us in any way. Absolutely, Tara. We must honor our elders. We must. Um, Man, but before I go, I got to throw it out again to those that maybe didn't catch it. Souls to the polls. What we're doing with Saginaw Cap and with a conglomerate of community organizations like the NAACP, like man, it's so many. I'd be all day naming everybody that's a part of Souls to the Polls, the League of Women Voters, the Ezekiel Project, on and on and on. We have almost 75 churches that are on board with the Souls to the Polls campaign. And what we're doing is getting Souls to the Polls on two particular Sundays that we're getting people to the polls. And those Sundays are July 28th and August 4th. The primary election is actually on August 6th. So those two Sundays prior to August 6th, again, July 28th and August 4th, we're going to be driving Souls to the Polls. All the congregations that are a part of the Souls to the Polls initiative are going to have their service on Sunday. And then after the service, they're going to herd their whole congregations to the polls. That's the name of the game, Souls to the Polls. From their congregation, from their church, straight to the polls. And the early voting center is actually on Cass Street. It's on the side of the courthouse. It's the old sheriff department. It's across from the new jail. So Cass Street, that'll be the location. We're going to have food trucks out there. We're going to have tents. We probably have a DJ out there. We're going to make it a grand event. Shout out to Sheriff Fetterspiel. I just talked to him today. They gave us the green light to use the parking lots over there that are county parking lots. So we're going to have a great time, and we're going to get Souls to the polls. We want people to understand the severity of the moment, how important this primary is. I'm not talking about November. We can't worry about November. If we don't take care of business on August 6th, November won't be a thing. It won't be a thing. There are people in this August primary that we need to get to the November ballot. And I'll leave it there because this effort is nonpartisan. But I need you to understand what I'm saying. This primary is important. It's probably the biggest primary I've ever been a part of. And I'm 48 years old. I've never seen a primary this important. This is why we're doing this effort. This is why we're trying to get Souls to the polls, because there are people on that ballot that we need to get to November. People that represent our community directly, that are from the dirt, that are from, that are Trojans, that are, people that are from our community. I can't say it any stronger than that. I can't, but I'm going to try. We have to come out for this primary election on August 6th. And you don't even have to wait until August 6th. You can vote right now. You can go tomorrow to City Hall, go to the city clerk's office and say, I want an absentee ballot. You don't even years past, you used to have an excuse to get an absentee ballot. Anybody can get an absentee ballot now. Anybody. You can get it. You can fill it out right there. You can submit. You can put your votes in right then. You can do it right then, and you ain't got to worry about Souls to the polls. You ain't got to worry about these Sundays. You ain't got to worry about August 6th. But if you want to participate on these particular Sundays, man, we want everybody. We want the city to come out and have a good time. Like I said, we're going to have food trucks out there. We're going to have music out there. We're going to have tents and places to sit. And we're going to make this a huge event. And the biggest thing that we're going to do is that we're going to show that we are in control of our community, that we determine the outcome of who's going to represent us in Washington, in Lansing, at the city council level, at the school board level, all of that. Everybody that's on the the ballot for the primary, we control that. We control that. There's nobody that we can elect or stop from getting elected. If we come out in numbers, I need y'all to understand that. You know what I mean? Like, we stand in our blackness at Saginaw Cap, unapologetically black. So everything that I'm talking about is with a black lens on it. If black people vote, we control the outcome. Period. We are, we're by numbers. In Saginaw City, black people outnumber everybody. We have to use that unapologetically. I hope y'all are not scared of that, because I'm not scared of saying that. We can't be afraid of being black. We can't. This is our moment. What we gonna do? Are we gonna show up? I hope we show up. I think we will. And I think the election results on that night, on August 6th, we're going to show everybody that we can control the outcomes of our community, and we're going to take our community back, position by position. We're not going to be left out anymore. We're going to elect the people that understand what the people in Saginaw need. Period. They're not putting other interests above people like you and I. No longer. That's what elections do. And that's the power of souls to the polls. I promise you, if we show up at 60, 70, 80%, we'll sweep this whole thing. I promise you that. I'm going to go ahead and get off of here, man. I appreciate everybody for joining us tonight with Cap Talks Live. My name is Jeff Bulls, president of Saginaw Cap. Appreciate you all. God's grace and peace. I'm going to get off of here. Thank everybody so much for all your comments, and we'll talk to you soon.